Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to today's Postgrad webinar service. Today is an introduction to the Loughborough University London campus. We're joined today by lecturing digital technologies, Dr. Courtney Reid. Just before I hand you over, a reminder today's session is live. We're on the 5th of February 2026. Where is the year going already? If you are watching on demand and you are watching on our website in the future, please email webinars@postgradsolutions.com. If you are watching live today or you're watching on our Facebook stream, please pop your questions in the Messenger facility or in the Q&A, and we'll endeavour to get round to your questions as soon as we can during the Q&A. There will be a quick presentation by Courtney for the first 15-20 minutes maximum, and then there will be a quick Q&A afterwards for about 15-20 minutes where we can talk about the different experiences that students might face, along with any questions that you may or may not have. So please pop your questions in there. Courtney, over to you, and I'll be back for the Q&A shortly.
Thanks so much, Gareth. So I'm really excited to be here and talk with all of you about what we're doing at Loughborough London, specifically around the topic for this webinar, which was programming with purpose. So I'm just going to give a really brief introduction to the university and to the London School specifically, and then we'll get into some more of the specifics around what goes on in our Digital Technologies Institute, some of the programs and offerings that we have around collaborative work on campus in our collaborative project, and then our Grand Challenges module. Again, all of this sort of designed really with you at heart to make sure that once you finish your degree, you're able to go out and not just have the knowledge from your studies, but the kind of know-how to apply that and to work within the context of the global community that we're a part of. So just a tiny bit about me. I know that it's a common thing students who are interested in Loughborough London always want to know. I haven't studied computer science. I'm not really very tech savvy, that kind of feeling, coming from lots of other amazing disciplines and wanting to upskill or kind of change a little bit of their backing to fit into really interdisciplinary spaces. And just so you know, I'm also very much in that pool. So I'm an interdisciplinary scholar. I work in arts and music technology, and I have a background in music studies. So my undergrad, I studied at conservatory. And then I actually came to the UK myself. If you can tell from my accent, I'm not native to London, but came as a master's student as well to study computer science. And now I have, in my research, combined these disciplines together to look at human-computer interaction in artistic practice and creative innovations in the music technology space. So my caveat for everything going forward is if you're not coming from a tech discipline and you're interested in it, never fear. I firmly don't believe that people are technical or non-technical people. It's just that it takes time to kind of reframe your brain if you've come from a different discipline, and that's completely normal. We really, really place a strong emphasis on interdisciplinarity at our London campus, and I'll talk a bit more about that in a second. So it's very important to us. So you'll meet lots of other students and staff and colleagues who will be very much in that same interdisciplinary vein, and you are most welcome with us. Going on with that, Loughborough London, as a part of Loughborough University, is this amazing blend of what Loughborough University as a global leader in sports has to offer, especially, and then, of course, being located in London. We're a really small, tight-knit campus that's postgraduate only, so we're really focused on collaboration and personal growth. As I mentioned, many students come to us trying to explore an idea that they have in their career direction, or trying to kind of round out some knowledge that they'd like to get. And we really want to empower students, not just coming to class, but also getting connections, grabbing extra skills, whether that be in the lecture or workshop setting, or in collegial and industry-based venues outside, and working on project and collaborative-based opportunities during your studies. So when you leave, you won't just leave with your degree and your marks. You'll also have a great network. You'll have worked with some companies, for example, in our collaborative project or during your dissertation, and you'll have some relationships to carry you forward into your job hunt. So just a little bit about where we are in London. We are on the east side of the city. So we're located at Here East, which is on the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park, So this was the venue of the 2012 Olympics and now has been turned into this amazing hub of innovation and creativity. There are many other universities around, so we've got great connections with them, with other student bodies and research circles. There are also lots of industry leaders and startups that live on the park at Here East. For example, we've got EA, Plexel, Ford, Sports Interactive. We've got West Ham United right next door. So there's amazing things going on. It's a really, really rapidly changing part of London as well. So I'm sure even during the course of a single year master's, you'll be seeing lots of different things pop up. And yes, everybody is always interested in coming to London to study. I think rightly so. As I mentioned, I did my own master's in London and then stayed on for my PhD. It's an amazing city to study in. You'll get to meet people from literally all over the world and form these really strong connections with just this super diverse pool of opportunities. Just a little bit about our campus. So we're a top 10 university in the UK, nationally ranked all of the university guides you can get in the UK. We're really, really dedicated to connection, like I mentioned. So we've got a resident academic team. We're really, really committed to connecting you with our industry connections and others that we work with as partners of the university. And like I said, we are exclusively postgrad, so we've got dedicated facilities for the studies that we have for both master's and PhD level. So 5 distinct features about that, like I mentioned, we've got this really international experience, a really diverse community in London. Students really enjoy situating themselves in this city. We really want to be a global network in London. We've got a lot of global outreach going on and really, really aiming to build connections that last. So even if you don't want to stay in London or you end up somewhere else on your journey, you'll still be able to leverage that Loughborough connection and the London colleagues that you've come to work with. This is really important to us, as I mentioned before, that we engage with the wider community. So we hope that you'll join us in making that more international as well if you are an international student. Interdisciplinarity is very, very important to us on London. We have a lot of framing of this beyond boundaries outlook, that we really want to do away with the traditional disciplines that you find in universities, that I'm this kind of person or I'm that kind of person, or as I mentioned, I'm technical or I'm not technical. Absolutely, we want to bridge these boundaries. And this is where the real innovation happens, as we all know. The person who's kind of come from a different background and suddenly has an idea, you just sometimes need the skills to be able to execute that. And there's really no reason that you can't move beyond your discipline. We firmly believe that. So really looking at where collaboration meets innovation. Our curriculum is really focused on this. We are a single school, so all of us work in the same building. We are all right next to each other. And as I mentioned, a really close-knit campus, being postgrad only. So we're really connected to each other, and we have 5 institutes to structure our teaching. So depending on what program you go into, you might end up in one institute, but they're really, all existing within one school. As I mentioned, you're really welcome to connect across institutes and with colleagues and students who are working in other spaces. We very much encourage that to fuel creativity. The third point to mention is that we have a really innovative learning process. Instead of the kind of typical setup you might have where you've got a semester and you take a few classes along that semester at the same time, we've broken up the semester into modules that last 3 weeks each. So we do these as blocks or sprint teaching, if you like. We call it block teaching, usually to each other on campus. Basically, what this means is that you get to dive really deeply into one subject at a time, and you don't have to worry about so many things going on at once. It's very intense on that one subject, but it allows you to focus your time and energy onto that particular challenge, and then we slowly build you up as you go through the rest of your semester, into your bigger year, and then into your dissertation. So there's really a lot of opportunity to spend time getting to know a subject and then putting it into context as you progress. We find that this really works and students enjoy it because it means that, well, you only have one assessment to work on at a time. Students really want to enjoy that. But it also means you get to spend a lot of dedicated time with one colleague, one staff member who's teaching usually, or as a main. There might be some other staff who come in to support a module as well. And so you get to spend a lot of quality time with them, really get to know them and interact with them. And then start to, like I've said, build up your knowledge over time. So starting slow and getting into something. We're really, really focused on industry partnerships as well, as I mentioned, and making sure that you don't just leave with a degree, that you know what you're going to do, how you're going to apply that, and where you're going to go when you step out of the door. Of course, you'll always be welcomed back on campus, but we want to make sure that you're able to pursue your career interests, and that when you leave us, you'll have that direction and motivation to carry you where you're interested in going. So we invite a lot of industry experts around for guest lectures or workshops. For example, last summer we had a series of coding and AI sprints with IBM, who's a regular partner with us as well. So I worked on that with a group of students. It was a great student-led initiative as well. So we're really looking for what you want to do, what industries you want to connect with, to motivate more events and to provide more opportunities. So we're really, really focused on partnerships and creating, again, that context so you can have success in a very competitive world at the moment. And 5, we are very focused on collaborative opportunities throughout your studies. So instead of just having, for example, an opportunity for a collaborative opportunity at the end of your program, we actually try to ensure that you have this throughout. You're constantly contextualizing what you're learning into the classroom and outside, working with peers as well as companies that we partner with who are located nearby on the park, as I mentioned a few at the beginning, and then also others around London and a little bit more on a UK-based and international scale at times as well. So working with peers and industry partners for collaboration. We've got interdisciplinary teams that take on business challenges in our collaborative projects, which I'll say more about in a sec. And then really focus on that experiential learning. So again, you're not just in a lecture kind of absorbing information, you're actually enacting it and really living that. So once you leave, you've not only got your degree, but you've got a list of projects and collaborations that you've done. Looks great on your CV and will help connect you to the wider world. So really focusing on hands-on experience. So we've got this collaborative project, like I mentioned, and really this is a great opportunity to get involved with as part of your studies. So it's a module that we offer. Essentially, you get into groups with other students from within your institute, so closely related disciplines, and you work on a brief that's given by a collaborative partner that we have. For example, I head up our collaborative project partnership with Horizon. Horizon is a company based in London that works with athletic teams around the UK. They work quite a lot with rugby, actually, and looking at data-driven insights into sports performance and managing stress and anxiety to improve athletes' mental health. And they're looking at it at team level, which is really unique. So really, really unique opportunities to work with companies and to solve real-world problems in that collaborative way. So these companies come into the classroom, introduce their business outlook and how things are going with their current projects and get you involved in helping with solutions. It's a great way to engage with company partners. We've had students who go on to work for these companies as a result of having engaged with them during collaborative projects, and they're really, really close contacts with us as well. So we're very, very actively involved during that collaborative project. And then we also have this new module as of this year. So it's brand new. It's just gone through its kind of first initial weeks, and we're very excited about it. So Grand Challenges is a new module that is offering a chance to engage with really complex, very hard to solve global issues. And the idea is that, again, understanding how your degree works, of course, but also the context in a wider world and enabling you as learners to employ and really contextualize your skills, again, in that interdisciplinary lens. So we want to build confidence and encourage you to make meaningful impact. What do you actually want to do in the world once you leave the university? And again, have some really memorable opportunities to put on your CV. It's a great chance to talk about something when you get into a job interview, to say, I've done these particular projects on these areas. In this case, with Grand Challenges, we work around the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. So we engage with really important and timely discussions around how we can make better futures as you leave the university and head out into the world. Um, Really, what we want to try to do is to develop change makers. So we use the Sustainable Development Goals to help you get familiar with global challenges that might pop up in your future workspace, or you might be working with them directly, and to provide tools for problem solving. So a lot of these goals, if you have a look on the right side, for example, they don't have a clear-cut solution. We might call them wicked problems because they're just so complex and they're so multi-layered. It's really important to engage with this kind of real-world application and think about how can we approach these very, very challenging problems that have a lot to do, not just with the problem themselves, but also with context and culture and finances and interhuman relationships and many other different kinds of real world context. So again, to foster that ability for interdisciplinary thinking and collaborating. Just to say a little bit more about our facilities, so we have very specialized learning spaces. As I mentioned, we've got Postgrad only on our campus, so you'll find it's really set up for having more advanced tools and resources. We've got a great library set up for really specialized master's degree level projects. So looking again at that interdisciplinary space and the zones that are created out of that. We've also got a great location on the Olympic Park. You're welcome and able to access the venues that were used during the Olympics. So they're open to the public now. So if you would like to swim in the Olympic pool or train at the Copper Box, we have these right on our doorstep, and students can access these amenities very close by. As I mentioned earlier, we're structured into these 5 institutes, which are a blend of that interdisciplinary research, and we really like to look for connections between these spaces. So I'm very interdisciplinary myself, as I mentioned. I'm actually situated between creative futures and digital technologies, with working in arts technology. So all of my teaching I do in the Digital Technologies Institute, and I'd be happy to talk more about that and answer questions, especially around how we bridge that technology into meaning making and engaging with sustainable development goals and all of that in our grand challenges. But also recognizing that, again, these are really boundaries to be broken, and we really love students who come in, interact with us in all contexts. For example, I have a student who's been dropping in on some of my modules in digital technologies, but they're actually taking a master's course that's located in sports business. So we love when students come to us and say, can I come and chat with you about this topic I'm interested in? Do you mind if I sit in on your teaching today? We're really, really trying to foster that kind of collaborative and communicative institute. But just a little bit about the institute I'm teaching in digital technologies. We're one of the top 5 in the UK for student experience in electrical and electronic engineering. We've got amazing computer science research internationally recognized, and really, really looking to advance digital technology, again, around global challenges, not just building things to build things, but building things in context, making sure that they're going to be something that's going to make a positive impact on the world. So we have focus areas around AI, of course. I'm sure everybody's really interested in this with our global push towards AI motivations in industry and in research. But also working around autonomous systems, blockchain and cybersecurity, wireless communications, Internet of Things, around building digital twins, and of course, sports and healthcare technologies. It is Loughborough after all. And then finally in financial technologies. And again, we do blend other elements from other institutes. So if you're interested in creative technologies or in immersive creative digital systems, these are also opportunities that we have as well. So that's a very short introduction to what we've got going on, and I'd be really happy to talk a bit more about specifics and answer any questions you have. But yeah, really looking forward to learning more about all of you and hopefully speaking with you soon.
Courtney, thank you. If we can leave it on that screen now, I think
Of
that's a
course.
lovely backdrop, actually. And I think
Yes.
To those of you that are watching and thinking, does it really look like that?
It does.
During the day, no, but during night it does.
It's
You know,
lovely.
they are it's a capital city, and it's the right end of the capital city, like Courtney mentioned, where the Olympics took place 14 years ago now. But it's a great part, very studenty vibe, very
Mm.
studenty part of the city. You know, you're not far away from city itself. You're not far away from surrounding counties. And Courtney, one of the things that we mentioned when we were off air, we spoke about the logistical nature of many students actually being and living outside of London,
Yeah,
not traveling
absolutely.
into town, because not only is it much cheaper to live in the surrounding counties, but the logistical aspect of things mean, I mean, you probably can't see it in the image there, but the train station is literally a stone's throw away where you can get to
Mm.
anywhere you like within the UK within a couple of hours, really.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's an amazing location to study. I've lived in East London pretty much the whole time I've lived in London. I can't seem to leave because I just love it so much. It's an amazing place because you are in London, you've got access to all of the things that you could possibly want to do in London, but you're on the edge of the east side, so it also has this really kind of calm, much more, I would say, suburban feel almost. It's very residential, so you'll have a neighborhood if you live in this part of London, and then there is this option, like Gareth mentioned, that you can live outside of London if you want. Sometimes students have family who live in neighboring cities that they stay with. Sometimes students just choose to live a little bit further out if they would like a bit more of a quiet realm. And it's super easy to come in and out. I mean, I know students who live outside of London, a train journey can take 30
Yeah.
minutes or something like that. It's very, very easy to get in and out.
I think it's so important and so key. Everyone just thinks London, oh crikey, I can't live there. It's too much for
Too
me.
big, yeah.
I think another big factor for any students watching today is you've alluded to it already. This is purely a postgraduate campus. So there are not loads of 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds running around the campus where you feel like an old man or an old lady because you're at a different stage of your career to everyone else there. This is purely professionals that
Mm,
are looking to enhance their careers and further their development. So actually, the people that you share class sizes with and walk around campus with are in the exact same boat as you, whether that be UK or international students.
mm.
Now, Courtney, just alluding to the international aspect of things. Talk to me more about the international nature, because obviously being London, it's going to be very metropolitan, cosmopolitan, right,
Of
whichever way you
course.
want to put it. But you do have a very strong international core cohort, don't you? And that must lead to great classes and questions being asked.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and it's the entire way through the school. So it's the students and the staff. It's amazing to see students come together. For example, in this collaborative project module I mentioned, the the last time we ran it, I had a cohort that was, I think, 22, 23 students, and we had 13 different nationalities in that
Okay.
tiny room.
Yeah.
So it's amazing to get that diversity of experience. I think that's where the real problem solving comes into place. If we all think about a problem in the same way and have the same experience, we're probably likely just to keep doing the same thing because it's what we know. When somebody comes in with a really different idea, or actually, I've done it like this before in this company I've worked at, especially when we're talking about global challenges, we can't just have people from the UK or from Europe. We need to have people who are bringing a diversity of perspectives in, and it's something that we really, really care about and foster in our teaching, in our research. We're very internationally engaged university,
Yeah.
so it's extremely welcome.
Diversity is a great word there, because many people just think diversity culture. Diversity is age as well. And
Absolutely.
one of the most emerging and most aggressive forms of increase of students at the moment is actually the class of the mature student. Now, we class, I'm sure you and I, as perhaps a little bit younger, will class mature as anything over 30 plus. But actually, there's so many students now that are in their 40s, in their 50s, that are at the stage where not only do they need to enhance their studies, they want to because of the topic as well. How important is that,
Hmm.
that actually digital technology is ever evolving? You just alluded to it there. It's changing all the time within.
Absolutely.
So there's no kind of, you can't really like rest on your laurels. You have to keep going and improve your education, don't you?
Absolutely. No, we have many students who would fall into that over 30 category who are coming back to school usually after working for some time or have decided they want to change up what they're doing with their job. Maybe they found a new avenue. And I actually really enjoy having these students in my classroom as well, because they've got so much experience to bring from their work, and it really helps for the younger, more traditional master student who might be around 22 to 24, I would guess, um, to have that context of this is a career. You can watch somebody else, your peer who's sitting next to you in the classroom, coming back and trying to further their education. It's incredibly inspiring, firstly. It provides so much information about how the world is changing and what are the skills that are desirable. And it's really just a great opportunity to, again, continue to get connected with people who've already had that experience. So we're really, again, like I mentioned, close, and trying to incorporate what our students would like to see in the room. So these student-led initiatives, have had many students who come, for example, I teach our introductory programming course. I have students who are coming from industry experience and careers in other fields, and they come to me and they say, I do this kind of work. How can digital technologies help with that? Or what kind of programming things should I be looking into for my field? And we use that in the classroom. So it's really important to us as staff as well to learn from our students. It's extremely valuable.
Yeah, a few questions coming, folks. Anyone watching today, please pop your questions in the Q&A or the chat facility. Courtney, I don't expect you to know the answer to this off the top of your head. Some of the questions coming are very niche and very bespoke.
I love it.
Um, it's a really good question, and they said, in the collaborative project involving industry partners, how are students supported in translating algorithmic or AI-driven solutions into implementable, scalable
Hmm.
innovations that demonstrate measurable societal impacts, especially when working across different teams where technical feasibility and social policy considerations may conflict? And I think we kind of just covered that a little bit in that
Yeah.
it's
No,
always evolving, always changing, isn't it?
it's a great question and it's really specific. I love that. So one of the things that we really try to emphasize in the collaborative projects, well, I guess there are kind of two parts. So as I mentioned, the company themselves will come in. For example, the company ProRisen that I'm coordinating the project with, their CEO comes in and talks to students and gives a rundown of what's going on in their context, how they compete with the market and others who are working in close spaces, and what their kind of niche area is. So we're really closely engaged and in dialogue with the company itself as we go through that project. So that's a huge level of support. I've had moments where students ask a question and we follow
Mm,
up with the company and they come back to us with information. It's very real time. And then the other part is that we're really focused on adapting industry level tools for conducting research in the kind of research and development side of these projects. So it's not just kind of implementing and coming up with a solution. We spend a lot of time first getting to know the field, getting to understand the context, doing a lot of background research and looking at the different approaches available, looking at feasibility within the scope of the company, mapping out stakeholders to make sure that all of the industry components are really well balanced and happy with solutions that are proposed. And then, of course, if students want to actually build different kinds of prototypes, we leave this project open. So if you want to build an algorithmic or a code-based solution, you're welcome. If you want to focus more on a kind of interpersonal and social aspect, so the relationality between people, it's also extremely welcome. And I always really encourage students to try to do some little bits of preliminary studies. So if they have a user pool they might be interested in, to undertake short interviews or surveys or to test out some different data measures. So as staff, we go through and support these kinds of projects. It's really up to you how long you want to take it, and how far you want to go with it. I've had students who take that collaborative project idea and they turn it into their dissertation project. And we
yeah.
also have, just a good point to mention there as well, we have a collaborative dissertation that we offer at Loughborough London. So of course, you can do the traditional dissertation where you take a research project, but we have some that are done with company or corporate partnerships. So usually around a chosen topic area and kind of design brief. And you spend that summer period working with a company to complete your research dissertation for your master's.
Yeah, and I think it is what you make it. And it is when you're in education in such an innovative program, course, in field, whatever. It's entirely down to the communication. Courtney, you'll always be learning as well. You'll always be changing. You'll always learn something new now, no doubt, from all the different technologies. And I think the beauty is, especially this generation now that are coming through, they have been brought up on technology and they will know from a very young age now the little tricks, the little algorithms, what's required, what's not. So that, it's very advantageous compared to anyone coming into the kind of sector 20 years ago.
Hmm.
Um, Talk to me more about the outcomes post-graduation, because students, one of the biggest things and the reason they're doing this is to enhance their career and hopefully get employment afterwards. And obviously being in the heart of London, and having those links that we saw on a previous page must be key.
Yeah, absolutely. So as I mentioned, one of the things we really try to do throughout your studies is to make sure that students are engaging with companies, with partners, with NGOs, whatever their interest might be throughout their studies. So when you leave, you don't again have that, here's my piece of paper, I did it. You have connections, so people you can count on for even something so simple as a reference letter can be amazingly powerful if you come as a student with a reference letter from a company you worked with, all the way up to actually continuing employment, especially for students who collaborate with companies during their studies. We have a lot of students who go into employment with them afterwards. It could be in an internship or it could be actually in full-time permanent employment. So there's a range of things that we've seen from students leaving these programs in the collaborative sense. So one thing I say too with the very competitive nature, especially of technology. I know everybody wants to come and get a technology degree. I think it's really, really important for students to remember that everybody's getting a computer science degree, everybody's getting a degree in AI. It's not to say that these degrees are not important, of course they are, but you need to think about the thing that's going to distinguish you from, the 20 other applicants you're up against who also have an AI-based degree or computer science degree. I say this as someone who has a computer science master's, so it's from experience. You need to think about the unique thing. And one thing we've really tried to encourage students to do through the collaboration is to think about that interdisciplinary slice that you occupy to make sure that when you go to your job interviews, you've got a very specific thing that is your kind of niche area, the thing that's unique and special about what you bring from your experience before you came to Loughborough and what you learned while you were here with us. And then the second thing, as I mentioned, is that it's really, really important to have these collaborative opportunities and these projects on your CV. If you can go into an interview and say, yep, I've done all these studies, but I have these two really important things of I've got my skills from my background, and then I've got these projects that I've engaged with, it looks incredible and you can really distinguish yourself. Just being able to go into an interview and
Yeah.
saying, hey, I've worked with this company. Here's a thing that I did. Here's how I solved some problems with some teammates. Super real world experience while you're studying.
One of the questions you had coming is about the facilities. Now, I've
Mm.
been lucky enough to visit the campus and see some of your colleagues, and one of the things that struck me was I think you've got two kind of immersive lecture theatres, haven't you?
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. I mean, it's world-class facilities. How important again is that the facilities are great to go along with the
Mm.
location, and you have got access to the library, haven't you? Which is again right up there in terms of great facilities that you can go in. It's not just that as well. You have got access to all the sporting venues like you've mentioned as well, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. No, we're really, really situated right on the north side of the park. So across there's a kind of long stretch of field, and then we have the London Aquatic Centre. We've got West Ham United and the London Stadium, as you see in the picture here. It's about I don't know, a 15-minute walk. If you take a bike, it's I don't know, 2 minutes away. It's ridiculous. Copper Box Arena, all of these things, the London Velodrome. So you have access to these spaces, and we do a lot of work in these spaces and with the partners who are responsible for them. We've also got the Here East campus, so that section where we're at the north part of the Olympic Park. There are many startups, and we work closely, for example, with Plexel, which is a great space just opposite our building, where innovators and startups can make office space. They have a lot of different exciting opportunities that go on there. And we do a lot of work with them too, in looking at how to grow these kinds of collaborative and innovative spaces in cities like London and expand outward. The other thing too I'll say about our facilities on campus is actually we only have two lecture theatres, right? So the rest of our spaces are classrooms. I think that says a lot about our approach to teaching, that we don't really expect students to be, you're just a number at the back of the room and you're not
Yeah.
engaging at all, right? I mean, the lecture theatres are fabulous, but
Yeah.
it's super important to know that most of our classes are incredibly small. I think the smallest classes we have are 5 or 6 students, really, really dedicated one-to-one time with lecturers and staff. And that we're really looking for this collaborative peer-based teaching opportunity, right? It's not, your lecturer up on the stage talking at you. You're involved, you're in the room together, and you're working on things as a partnership and a team.
Yeah, and that'll be why I was looking at some of the numbers the other day. I think I've got it noted here. You were ranked seventh in the complete uni guide for in the UK. You've been awarded 5 star for research in the QS star scheme, and also you in the university guide top 10 in the UK. So it's, you've got great accolades there, great stats there that not only back up the great location, the great facilities, but the learning is amazing. The
Hmm.
education is great. Going back to the cohort, whether it's 5 or 20, because that is on the smaller side, as you will know,
Hmm.
you really get to know the students, don't you? By first
Yeah,
name, who they are,
absolutely.
they'll know who you are. And whether it's during class hours, outside of class hours, actually, you actually become friends
Hmm.
for life almost. And how important is that you're not only becoming friends with your professor, with your lecturer, you're able to lean on them a little bit and ask for their advice and help as a friend, perhaps.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we have a great support structure linking staff and students at Loughborough London. So, for example, one of the first things that will happen when you come to study with us is that you'll be allocated a personal tutor. So this is your kind of staff connection. They might not be somebody you see in the classroom, they might be as well, but a sort of, kind of third space, you have this opportunity to engage with them and talk about how things are going and have careers advice. We also have our amazing future space team who are amazing at helping students link up with opportunities around the park or around London or beyond. And they really got this amazing open space. You can just drop in and hey, what's going on? How are you? We've got amazing student-led clubs and initiatives. As I mentioned, we've got these kind of coding boot camps and different kind of code sprints, like the one I organized last year that I mentioned earlier with IBM. So that was a student-led initiative that then we took up with staff. So really interested in getting student input. And then we actually have just a lot of student staff clubs that we run for fun. So, for example, my colleague Gerhard, he and
Yeah.
I lead a birding club that goes on around the Olympic Park. So we go out once a block with students from all levels. So masters, PhD, we've got postdocs and then staff. And we just have nice days out where we spend time in the natural areas around the park and around the campus, see some, beautiful outside areas in London. It's an amazingly green city, and to spend time together. And in these moments, I think that's when we make the really strong connections. I mean, going to university isn't just about going to a classroom and sitting and
Yeah.
watching a lecture. It's about understanding kind of where you are in a bigger field, where you belong, kind of in that global context. And then once you leave, to keep in touch and to have those personal connections is so important. Again, even if it's just, I need a reference letter for a job, but we love when students come back and they have ideas, or for example, we've got student-led startups and student initiatives where they're now coming back and running collaborative projects with us, working with students who are coming out. So it all continues. And I do now have a degree from Loughborough. I undertook a postgraduate certificate the last 2 years. So I'm now a Loughborough grad. I'm very proud of that. But one thing I noticed when I came and started working at the university and not having done my master's at Loughborough was how extremely obsessed everybody is with Loughborough. People study there and they never want to leave. I've met staff and colleagues who have done all of their degrees at Loughborough. They work there now. It's just become this kind of, incredibly family-centric part of their lives that they can't even imagine leaving. And I find that so inspiring. I mean, we've got a colleague right now who's celebrating 30 years at the university. She's just been amazing and part of, founding and contributing to the London School. But that's what happens. People really stick around. People really want to be involved. Even after they move on to other places, they come back.
We do have one final question. It's come from, forgive me if I pronounce this incorrectly, Elingius. The very, and I'm sure you'd be delighted to hear this, Courtney, specific bespoke questions again. How does the program support students in critically assessing the long-term society consequences of AI-driven solutions,
Hmm.
particularly where the technological interventions risk unintentionally reinforcing structural inequalities? And just following up from that, same student, in projects addressing global challenges through AI and computing, how are students encouraged to integrate stakeholder co-creation and community-informed design to
Hmm.
ensure solutions remain contextually relevant and sustainable? What a great point to finish on.
Hmm.
Go on,
I
Courtney.
love this question. Thank you. As someone who's working in an arts-based technology intersection,
Yeah.
I'm super appreciative of this conscientiousness of, hey, let's not just make a bunch of AI stuff and chuck it out into the world without thinking about it. And I think we're starting to see the detrimental impacts of that. So again, with the modules that we have running at the university that are around AI driven solutions and around that context. I already mentioned the collaborative project and the Grand Challenges module. We also have a module in digital technologies, for example, called AI and Society. So we spend a lot of time talking about context and what this really means. So supporting students to understand and do research into how, number one, the current initiatives that have happened in AI are affecting our world. Looking at topics that are really relevant, such as data colonialism and how information is being collected, privacy concerns. So we spend a lot of time working in these realms, especially around the grand challenges, and making sure that we're supporting communities instead of just extracting data from them.
Mm.
So, for example, in a lot of research work that I do with students, and I've had master's students join in on projects, is around looking at heritage preservation with data, around data colonialism and having community empowered data initiatives. So instead of having a big company that exists somewhere else in the world coming in and give us all your data, to have initiatives that are run locally. So we really encourage these kinds of projects, and over time, looking at the effects on those, we do a lot of research again in these particular modules. That's the focus, and we also encourage students to do this if they're interested for longer term projects such as their dissertation. So actually going into a community that maybe they're already a part of or familiar with, and engaging with the impacts that are going on in those communities. So yeah, again, it's really, really part of what we do. And then as far as you want to take that, if you're really interested in that, it's something that we work on a lot in our research too, and it would be most welcome. Sounds like a great
Superb.
dissertation topic.
Yeah, that's it. Look, it's a very loaded question, and
I'm
look.
definitely on the same page with it for
Yeah, to
sure.
the student that asked that question, you sound very involved, very interested. Please communicate, because everybody at the university, I know firsthand what they're like. They are very good to talk to, and they
Hmm.
will be very open-minded no matter where you're from. They're very diverse, got great knowledge, great background. So please communicate. Courtney,
Hmm.
thank you for your time. Really appreciate
Absolutely.
it. We got to the 45-minute mark now after some really good questions. If anyone has any concerns or issues around this webinar, any questions or wants help applying, please let us know. Webinars at postgradsolutions.com. Alternatively, everyone that's been watching will get the chance to reach out directly. To those watching, thank you for watching on demand. Please ask questions. Webinars at postgradsolutions.com. Courtney, thank you for your time, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Yeah, thanks so
Take
much.
care.
Really look
Thank
forward to
you.
having you all on campus with us soon too.